Welcome back to On the Clock and Over It, where bad bosses get called out and overworked employees finally get the last laugh.
Today we're diving into very special type of workplace villain, the credit stealer. You know the one. They take your ideas, present them as their own, and suddenly they're the office MVP while you're just the invisible worker in the background.
Honestly, credit stealers are like workplace magicians, except instead of pulling rabbits out of hats, they make your hard work disappear into their performance review.
And nothing makes my blood boil faster than seeing someone else get promoted for work they didn't even do.
I feel that. If you've ever spent weeks perfecting a project only to have your boss slap their name on it like a kid cheating on a group project, this one's for you.
And today's anonymous submission? Oh, this is a textbook case of corporate credit theft and some expert level revenge. Let's get into it.
This story was submitted by Invisible Employee. I worked for a manager who never had an original idea in his life, but somehow he was always getting promoted. Why? Because every time I or any of my coworkers came up with something, he'd present it to upper management as his own. The worst part? He never even bothered to change the wording. It was like watching a bad rerun of my own work. One time, I spent weeks creating a new workflow to make our team's projects run more efficiently. I presented it in a team meeting, and my boss nodded, took notes, and said he'd bring it up to leadership. Fast forward a week, and guess who was getting praised for a brilliant new workflow? Spoiler, not me. After that, I started emailing my ideas to the department head before our meetings. The next time my boss tried to take credit, our director interrupted and said, "Oh, yeah, I saw my name's email about that. Great work." The look on my boss's face, priceless. Okay, first of all, let's just pause and give Invisible Employee a standing ovation for that strategic move.
Oh, absolutely. That was corporate espionage at its finest. The level of pettiness and precision? Chef's kiss.
And can we talk about that moment when their boss realized they couldn't steal the credit anymore? The panic? The existential crisis?
Imagine being at that meeting, thinking you're about to collect unearned praise, and then boom. Upper management already knows the truth.
It's like watching a kid get caught copying off someone else's test in real time. You love to see it.
All right, let's break this down. Why do some bosses steal credit like it's their full time job?
Reason number one, lack of confidence. They don't trust their own skills, so they use yours to make themselves look competent.
That's a fancy way of saying they're frauds.
Exactly. Reason number two, they're climbing the corporate ladder. They know the higher ups don't see the day to day, so they position themselves as the genius.
Oh, 100%. And let's be real, upper management loves a good storyteller. They don't care who actually did the work, as long as the person presenting it makes it sound impressive.
Absolutely. And then there's reason number three, office politics. Some companies are structured so that only managers have direct access to leadership, so they take full advantage of that gap.
Which is wild, because imagine winning an award for a song you didn't even write. That's what these bosses are doing.
All right, so if you're dealing with a credit stealer right now, here's how to fight back without losing your job. Tip number one is to document everything.
And when we say everything, we mean every single thing. Email your ideas, keep timestamps, save Slack messages, create a digital trail so solid that if your boss tries to take credit, you can pull the receipts like, that's funny because here's an email from 2 weeks ago where I outlined the exact idea.
Because here's the thing, credit stealers thrive in the shadows. Once you expose them, the game changes. Tip number two is to speak up in meetings.
When you present an idea, say things like, as we discussed last week, I came up with XYZ to help solve this problem. That way, even if your boss tries to repackage it later, people will remember you said it first. Now, tip number three is loop in the leadership.
Just like Invisible Employee did. Find ways to make sure leadership already knows your work before your boss tries to take credit. This one can be done through emailing higher ups directly before big meetings, casually mentioning your ideas in group settings, and sharing wins in Slack or project management tools.
Make it impossible for your boss to pretend they're the genius behind your work. And last, but certainly not least, tip number four, if it all else fails, update your resume.
Because listen, some battles aren't worth the energy, and we both know that firsthand. If you're working somewhere that actively rewards credit stealers and punishes actual workers, it might be time to start looking for a company that values originality over office politics.
If you've got a credit stealer horror story, we want to hear it. Submit your workplace nightmares at the link in our show notes, and we might feature them in a future episode.
And if you enjoyed today's episode, hit that subscribe button, leave a review, and send this to a coworker who actually does their work.
Until next time, stay clocked in,
but not too checked out.